There's actually one last thing I want to do before we go to Jool, and that is completely refuel that entire craft. I want every single tank to just be full of fuel, because we're going over there. No matter what we do, I still need the station to be a refueling station. So it is in my best interest to have as much fuel over there already as possible. And it is way cheaper for me to refuel that station when it's in orbit of Kerbin than it is for me to do it when it's over at Jool, right? So we're going to do it over there anyway. And that's what this thing is for. It's a very simple craft. It's going to get up there and dock to it and do it. And we're also bringing Macman and Nedkin in this craft. That will give the mission to Jool a full crew. So this is, it says 6,900 here, but really it doesn't matter. All that matters is that we have a lot of fuel left in this tank when we arrive. So let's go ahead and launch and get that done. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first launch of the day is a quick little refueling rocket to get that station up there all topped off and ready for the voyage with as much fuel as possible. I am hoping to have a bunch left over when we get there, but as you'll see later on, I'm gonna need more anyways. I have quite a few launches for you today, and most of the launches in low Kerbin orbit will be launched so that they are timed to rendezvous with their target right away, without needing to go around Kerbin at all to meet up with it. All right, so after I, refueled this thing, connected everything for refueling, I'm noticing that these parts are kind of disconnected. And that has me kind of worried, to be honest. Now, I think what's happening here is this one is lined up correctly. And it's probably the only one that's lined up correctly. And that is the actual lander, the last thing to dock to it. This is my tug. It's actually kind of pushed in to the part. So there's like clipping going on in the part. And it's also shifted everything else with it. So basically these three units are shifted in perspective. And I don't know how that's going to affect my ability to like dock, redock, etc. to this thing before or later on. So like if I was to undock this, hypothetically, right? Right. And if I switch to it, just to kind of keep it, yeah, see, it's still really like indented in. So it looks like these parts are just going to be floating. I don't know how I feel about that. Like if I was to undock this one, well, let's first select this as the target, and then we'll, copy it from here. Let's just see what this does in terms of our ability to dock to this thing. So if I was to come on in towards it again, let's just kind of rotate ourselves to have a good perspective here. But either way, I want to see how this game reacts to it. How is it going to allow us to dock with the way it is, So if I bring myself down, it docks, and it seems to dock just fine, but again, it's not aligned correctly. So I think maybe forever this station is just going to look really weird, because I've unloaded before anyone says anything. I've already reloaded the game, restarted my computer even, and it's still like this. So it's almost like this state of shift is like permanent now, and I don't I don't like that, but we're gonna go with it. Maybe it'll correct itself after I put it on rails with Jool. I doubt it. If it doesn't reset when I completely reload the game, then I don't know why it would reset when I put it on rails later, but we'll see. Okay, so in order to go to Jool, we're fully loaded up right now. I wanted to send 5 Kerbals to Jool, and currently we have 3 on board, so maybe we should send 2 more up here. I think I'm gonna send 2 more up here. It's not necessary, right? Like, I just want the station science to be able to happen, and there's 2, and then I want 2 Kerbals to come down to Lathe as well. So like, I guess 4 is all I really needed. You know, like I kind of want to send 1 more up here just to send them out, but I think we can make do with 3. But I'm still gonna send more. So let's maybe load another craft. With 5,100 meters per second, this thing is more than capable of doing exactly what I need it to do. It's purpose built, right? So let's just go. We'll go ahead and say go. That's more than enough to get up and do what we need to do. Just like it is. Nothing fancy required, although a little bit of control surfaces might have been a good idea. It's fine though. I'm time-lapsing you guys. I'll see you at the station. The next launch for you is a little single stage to docking rocket with over 5,000 meters per second of Delta V. We're on our way to bring a little fuel and new crew to the station for its journey to Jool. In total, I'm bringing 5 Kerbals out that way, some of which will stay on the station for the most part for science, and some will be headed out to Lathe, Tylo, and any other mission that we do while we're out that way. What the hell? I just got yeeted, dude. I am already 2 kilometers away from the station. How did this happen? I can get this encounter here. It's not much, but it's 2,000 meters per second, which is, I think, right around typical of what it takes to get that injection burn, right? I think something like that. Anyway, we're gonna make an adjustment in the middle of this trip too. So we're gonna use these 5 engines to take this burn. It looks like it's gonna cost us 2,070, and then it's in 5 minute and 16 second burn. I'm not sure if it really is 5 minutes and 16 seconds, but 5 minutes is fine. It's an okay speed. I think if we were using this engine, we would have a significantly longer burn. I think there's more thrust in these 5 than there is in that one. Even though this one is like individually, I think each one of these is something like 700 kilonewtons or something for each one of these. 800 kilonewtons in out of atmosphere. I think so. It's something like that. So I think all of these together maybe equal that, but it's fine. We're going to use this anyway. So yeah, here we go. We're just going to go to our burn here. And also, we've been doing station science as well. Forgot to mention that. So we can do science, like orbital surveys, orbital data, etc. And they've changed it now to where these experiments that start in a biome will continue as long as you are over that biome. So like, here's low orbit water, and we can continuously have this run, even if we unload the craft. And also, even if we enter into a new biome, what it will do is it will pause the experiment. God, that looks weird, doesn't it? it will pause the experiment, and then it will pick it right back up and start right again as soon as you go over top the biome. So it's still biome specific. It's still doing that, which I don't agree with in orbit, but it's still doing that. So we're still not over water anymore, but it's okay because the progress on this is saved. Needs running, but needs water. See? So now we'll wait for the water. Not bad, but we're gonna burn this right now anyway, so it's probably not gonna finish. It's okay. I'm all right with it. We have plenty of time to get science over Kerbin. 5 minutes, 16 seconds. Now, this is a 2,000 meter per second burn, but we don't have 2,000 meters per second in this stage, right? Well, that's because all of this fuel is not accessible by this stage. So we're going to transfer fuel in the middle of the burn. Yeah, so we could do that. We could do things like that. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and go. So you can see that this rocket is really squirrely, right? It's moving all over the place, and that's because of torque. The tug and the science module are not the same mass, right? So we definitely have an imbalance all over our craft. And on top of that, I'm also moving fuel around with this stupid resource manager tool that really needs changed. And if I'm moving it into like tanks on the left side faster or more often than tanks on the right side, or vice versa, whatever, you get the point. We have to be balanced if we want to stay straight. So gimbaling, reaction wheels, and RCS, we have to use all three of these tools to keep ourselves going straight. Another element of the changes that they made is that you can now do science over the sun. So high orbit Kerbal, we can do the orbital survey now, and I just did. And so there's 280 sample data there, and we can transmit 120 of it. All right, so that's gonna give us a trajectory that puts us directly into Jool. That's what we're looking for here. So now just a double check to make sure that our resources in these tanks are completely empty. And they do look that way. I don't think there's anything else on that craft that has fuel in it. So we should be good to release that. And I think we are. So we're going to come over to here. And we're just going to say right here to decouple. And we don't need a whole lot here for this. In fact, we can just go really, really lightly and decouple. So that separates that engine, the tank, everything. All of that is now off of this, which means all the burning we do from this point on is going to be even better than it was before. All right, so I've tweaked the orbit a little bit here to get us captured again. And for just very small, less than 1 meter per second here, or pretty much 1 meter per second, we're going to incorporate Tylo into this. And coming in at just the right angle, because Tylo's got such strong gravity, we can actually get ourselves captured by Jool for free. So we're going to use Tylo to get us captured. We will have to make an adjustment after that, or we'll die. But yeah. So how it will work is we're going to come in with this line right here. We're going to swing right past Jool. And then when we swing right past Jool at high speed, we're going to intercept Tylo. Tylo's going to slow us down by pulling on us really hard and with that gravity, and we'll end up in an orbit that looks like this, and then we'll end up crashing into Jool. So when we get out there, we pass by Tylo, we'll get out here, and then we'll make our adjustment. And I'm going to go in and try to get the inclination on that to be very close to what it is for Lathe. All right, so I don't know if we really got that nailed or not. It looks like we're a little bit inclined here. But I think as much as we are inclined, it's not difficult to adjust that after the fact, but I can just do a little bit more. All right, we've reached Jool's sphere of influence. Let's double check everything, make sure we're still good here. We've got this is the debris. I guess it's technically a craft because it has a probe, but it can't do anything, so it's debris. We're gonna go ahead and focus on Jool really quick and just make sure everything is as we expected it to be. Quick save here. And yeah, so we're still getting contact with Tylo there, and we're still wrapping around and going, and we're going to end up going this way. So again, we need to turn ourselves around and go the other way while we're out there. And I don't know how much fuel that's going to take, but now that we have all of this done, we can maybe see how much fuel that's going to take. So if I create a maneuver here and I say that I want to Well, first thing I need to do is make sure that these engines are back on so that I have a proper idea of how much we have to burn. I don't think I need more than one engine here, so I'm going to leave the other ones disabled for now. So it's going to be about there-ish. So 387. 387 I think is cheaper than capture. Again, I don't know about, you know, aerobraking this kind of craft. It seems really risky to try to aerobrake something like this. Because there's so many parts that are just exposed completely, that they're sensitive stuff that I need. Like, I don't want, like, if even one of these RCS thrusters go bad, then it's going to be much harder to control the probe and stuff, right? So I need to keep that in mind as well. I don't think I want to do any aerobraking here. It's better for me to just get things stable without aerobrake, and then you know, send something up to refuel it from there. Do we want to watch it crash into Jool? We got time. You know, we got plenty of time, honestly. I mean, we got so much time. Like, we're not doing any burn here. We're using Tylo, so it's like we're gonna encounter Tylo here pretty soon. We may not get a chance to see it before we encounter Tylo. Looks like it's about equal, but again, we're not crashing here, and we're crashing here, so I want to see this. Let's control you. We do want to activate science on this, though. Is it going to be, like, right on? Are they going to hit at the exact same time? That sucks. It does mean that this thing probably dies before I leave Tylo, so I should be able to do the science. Let's control this one. I want to see it hit. I want to see it hit Jool. Hello, frame rates. My old friend. Welcome back. All right, so again, that's going to encounter Tylo any second now. And we are going right in. I want to see, how far do you get on the night side? Of course. How far do you get? Down 900, 800, 700, 600. I mean, you're hitting this thing at almost 10,000 meters per second. Like, you're absolutely dying. There is no hope for you here. All right. We're at 255. And it's out of EC anyway. Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. So this is real time, not sped up. He's down to 130, 120, 10. What? Huh? Huh? Guys, I think you nerfed it too far. I think you nerfed it a bit too far. If that didn't burn up, I mean, that's actually going to go all the way. Yeah, that's going all the way. Okay, well, they clearly messed up, because that should not happen. Cannot leave active vessel. Well, it's because I'm in the atmosphere. I don't care. Let's go to tracking station. I want to control this, please. Can't leave active vessel. Yes, I can. All right, you know, here's what we'll do. Destroy. It's dead. We know it's dead, okay? It should have died. Should have died a glorious death, but it didn't. I think they absolutely nerfed the thermals a bit too far there, I think. That's no good, man. How about here? I don't want to hit Lathe very fast, right? So I think having the station maybe halfway between Jool and Lathe would be a pretty cool idea too. Maybe just under Lathe. That way, like, any encounters we do with these two things, they don't have a whole lot of speed between them. I think I like that idea, actually, because it means spending less fuel getting captured by Lathe. It's like kind of like going into Kerbin when we went in that I don't know, 10,000 science probe mission where we went into Kerbin and it was pretty low relative speed, right? You remember that? It's kind of like that. And I think that's a good idea to plan for. So we could maybe go a little closer to Lathe's orbit. Would be a good idea. All right, more science being done now. It's over Tylo. of course, if we stay in the Highlands, then that will allow this to complete. We may not stay there long enough, though. Looks good. Only a minute left. Still considered high orbit. Oh, it changed. Oh, it's done now, actually. Yeah. It's done. We completed that successfully, and we should have more science from that? Or no? I think it just still counts as high orbit. Research opportunity. Now it's low orbit. Yeah, okay. So now we get to do the low orbit one. I don't know whether or not we're going to be in low orbit long enough for that to matter. Man, I wish I could finish that. But 5 minutes? We don't have 5 minutes. So. And it switched to the lowlands anyway, so. All right, well, I don't think it's going to finish. Yeah, now it's high orbit again. So, it is what it is. It's fine. Interrupted. Yeah. Okay. Well, bye, Tylo. And we'll come over here. And we're going to get to our maneuver on this side. Just going to speed it up a little bit here. I know how much you guys love high-paced action videos. Which is not what I have here. This is not the video for you, if that's the case here. All right, turn RCS on. Counteract any of the other stuff we got to deal with. And you can see it is absolutely not going to take us a minute to burn this. And we should be in orbit right about now. Okay, periapsis is 2. Stop the RCS from doing its thing. The periapsis is now 222 kilometers. So that's good. So we're not going to die. Everything's good. We're not going to die, guys. All right, now we need to correct inclination for lathe. We don't have to get it perfect, but if we want to have flexibility in rendezvousing wherever and whenever we want, then we do. So that'll cost me another 120. But at that point, inclination will be completely fixed. So, I got myself down into a lower orbit than lathe. We are 0.3 degrees off from lathe's inclination, which is not a big deal. 0.3 degrees is nothing. So now what I want to do is I need to get to the Jool apoapsis, and then we're going to burn this direction and get ourselves an orbit that's about like this. So I want to be in an orbit about like this. So we're just on the outside of lathe's sphere of influence. It's actually probably better to do this like firmly out of it. So why don't we try to take it to about here? I think take it to about here, and this will be where our station resides. It'll reside this far away from Jool, and that way every time we want to go to lathe or whatever, like, you know, lathe is the place where we can probably make a base and stuff, right? Every time we want to do that, we can do so fairly cheaply by just timing it correctly. And then it doesn't cost us very much to get captured, which means when we fill up our fuel tank at the station, we don't have to use as much of it to the transfer of where we're going to go and the landing and, you know, getting into atmosphere and all that stuff. We don't have to use as much of that fuel on the lander. And that means we can have a more economical lander, essentially, is where I'm going with on that. So just a little bit of extra fuel spend on this one time. It's going to cost us $1,100, so we are definitely going to need a refueling mission. There's no doubt about it. This is all the fuel I have, actually, so I definitely underestimated how much fuel it would take to get all this stuff out there, but we send a refueling mission out here anyway. Probably just one gigantic, absurdly gigantic rocket that has just way more fuel than we'd ever need, and it will then eventually rendezvous with this station, refuel it, and we bring it out there. All right, I've decided that 16.5 is the target I'm aiming for here. So the station will be circularized at about 16.5 kilometers above the surface surface of Jool. And that's going to be where we go here with that. So it's going to bring it down a little bit more. And about there. So that's close. It's not quite exact, but I think it's close enough to not matter. And there. So I think this is out of the way, right? This is like firmly away from Lathe enough to where we won't get any encounters is what I'm going for here. So I think that's pretty much like that's enough to where if we wanted to burn out from the station later, it would probably only cost us like 100 meters per second, maybe 2, to get an encounter with Lathe from this point. And we have the exact inclination of Lathe. Everything about this station is good, but we definitely need more fuel. We're at 677 meters per second remaining in fuel. And on top of that, having to use the monopropellant to keep ourselves aligned while we're burning for all of these maneuvers has actually drained all of our monopropellant on the entire station. We have no more left. So this means we absolutely need the refueling mission. And that refueling mission not only needs to bring Methalox, but now it needs to bring a lot of monopropellant as well. And I'm thinking this might be a good opportunity to install some spare monopropellant on the station too. So I think we should definitely go ahead and design that. We'll leave this exactly where it is. It's fine right where it is now. So now we need to get a rescue mission. It's not really a rescue mission. It's just fuel, right? We just need to get fuel out this way. So let's go to the vehicle assembly building. And we're just going to design an absurdly big refueling rig that can come out here and do that. We have this really ridiculous thing. This is still going to be a multi-part launch. So in order to get the thrust to weight ratio acceptable for this thing to reach orbit, I need to basically have this top section less than a quarter full. The main goal is to get like most of the ship, which is from here up, to get into orbit. And then we're going to have to send multiples of these up there to refuel this one. So that's what we're up about right now. It says it has 7640 meters per second. The overwhelming majority of that is at this lower part here. Let's go and see if this ridiculous thing can get to orbit. All right, so this ridiculous rocket is on the pad. It barely fits. In fact, the launch clamps are just kind of off the edge there, but this is the reason why we need to use launch clamps. So it's just really big. We're in the middle of the night. You can kind of see the moon over there. It looks pretty nice. We should probably get to where it's daytime. So at the risk of my craft reloading physics and coming apart, we're gonna just kind of time accelerate to the morning here. I think that's probably pretty good there. Yeah. Okay, so let's make sure. Derpy Rocket, are you okay? Yeah, everything's settled. Okay, so we have 16 solid rocket boosters, over, what is it, 48? I think 48 Separatrons on these. And because we're using launch clamps, we're going to let the liquid fuel, the mammoths, we're going to let the liquid fuel engines, they have a little bit of a spool up, and just a little bit. And so we're going to have the launch clamps go just after ignition, and that gives them a little bit of time to spool up so that they don't, because otherwise your rocket can dip down before it goes up, and I don't want that to happen. So we're just going to do that. Okay. So up we go. Now, in order to achieve the thrust to weight ratio that's required for this thing to actually go up, the up part, this part up here, pretty much everything from these angled tanks up is only partially full. They're not really. They're like a quarter full. All right. I can't fill them up because there's just no way. And even then, with 16 of these, I guess they're the medium size, but 16 of the Clydesdales are only going to get this, along with the Mammoths, only get this thing to a 1.3 thrust to weight ratio in the lower atmosphere. So we really need to get up higher. So we're going to kind of go straight up. I'm not going to start really making a serious effort to go, down to the east until we get to maybe 12K, 13K, 15K. We can go like a little bit of a tilt, but not really. Oh, look at that, dude. Look at this. Listen to this. That's cool. The game's got its moments, man. And this is one of them. I'm telling ya. Sound. That snarl, I guess. That little crackle. Loving it. All right. No, I was gonna just time accelerate this with you, but I want to see the boosters go in real time with you. I want to see all these boosters separate. I have 48 Separatrons to make this happen, so I'm kind of hoping that this is a nice clean separation for everything. Specifically, I'm a little bit worried about the ones in the middle right here. This one, I'm a little bit kind of iffy on this one, whether it's going to hit anything or not, but it should be separating directly out, so we'll see how it goes. And then you might be wondering about these spherical tanks at the top. Like, what's up with these? Why are these on here? And this is for monopropellant, right? It's just going to be, we're going to put monopropellant in this. But of course, they're empty right now. And so, oops, hang on. Getting a little bit squirrely here. I need my frame rates back. As soon as I get rid of these, boosters, we should have our frames back. And there we go. Separate. Oh, it's nice and clean. And not run into each other and explode. Maybe. No? Ah. Hey, that's pretty clean, though. I like that. All right, we definitely need to start going laterally, though. All right, so the mission, the whole goal is to make sure that these mammoths are the only engines that are burning in the atmosphere. I don't want the tubas. These ones are tubas. There's only 570 kilonewtons of thrust in each one of these compared to the 4,200 in each of these. So we definitely want the mammoths to be the atmospheric engines for us. And then you're going to notice also that this center engine, this center tank right here, right, it's got more fuel in it than all the other ones do, and that's because it's all being fed into the center one, right? So these engines are going to run out of fuel. I need to go higher. Yeah, I'm not going high enough. Let's just point to prograde. Just point prograde. It's fine. All the fuel from the side tanks are going to the center one, right? And so the idea behind that, of course, is that we want to be able to stage these away. But this mammoth isn't going to be able to do a whole lot. However, the thrust that this one engine has does equal the thrust that these 5 have. So it's kind of the same. I don't really care one way or the other, right? It's just, let's just get it done. So I'm going to let this burn longer, and then we're going to stage these other 4 away. It's not as efficient, though, I should point out. And so actually what we should do, because it's not as efficient, we should go to the resource manager. Now I'm thinking of, this is kind of cheating, but I'm going to do it anyway. What we should do is find that tank that's in the center. Should be a full one right here. And then we should find the center one up here, this one right here, yep. And what we should do is we should say that we want to transfer fuel from that one into this one. There we go. And now that center tank up there is full. And now when we go and burn our other stage, we will be able to do so with a lot more fuel. Yeah, that'll be fine. That's great. All right, let's go ahead and stage this away. And boom. Now, we still have this thing firing. It's running into me. This is why I say it's a little bit cheaty. This thing it got more thrust than we do. So it's accelerating into us. And it's kind of giving us a little bit of a push. But once it runs out of fuel, which will be pretty soon, then, it'll stop pushing us and everything will be fine. And then you can see these docking ports are on the sides of these tanks, and that's what we're going to dock to refuel it, right? So we're going to take another one of these up here, and then it's going to rendezvous, and we're just going to connect these 2 together. Kind of like how Starship is proposed to work, right? Or at least some of the mock-ups and stuff having like docking like right on the belly almost, and then just kind of giving another Starship a hug, that kind of thing. All right, so we are going to go ahead and burn radial out here. That is going to bring our apoapsis down while bringing our periapsis up, just to kind of try to balance this out. And I'm not sure that's going to work. We are very close here. We might enter atmosphere for a little bit. As long as we don't stay in atmosphere, I'm fine. We might end up getting in there. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good. Okay, let's go radial out. There we go. Just bring this up. And we're good to go. We're ready to rock. We are now solidly in space. No, not solidly in space yet, but we're about to be. And now we're solidly in space. There we go. Okay, so where do I want to be for rendezvous in this? Should I want to be at Periaps to do this? I wonder. I can't really see my... Well, that's a really weird bug. I can't see my orbit. You guys ever experienced that before? I can't see my orbit. It's not there. It's gone. Just a little push to 100. And about... Let's go... Yeah, about there is fine. We'll probably end up raising this a little bit when we get to the other side. So now I want to face retrograde. Of course, I can't tell where my prograde or where my apoapsis is, but I'm going to assume it's directly across from me here. So when I get there, then I'll go ahead and circularize this. And then again, we need to bring another one of these up to dock to this one so that we can take the remaining fuel. It's going to be about this much fuel, I guess, and then push that into here. And what I'll probably do actually is we'll send the next one up without these big spherical tanks because they're not needed. And then we'll send one more launch after that with the monopropellant included. Each of these big spherical tanks can hold 60 tons of monopropellant. And I don't really need them full, but I'd like them to have a lot because we're going to do some stuff in Tylo. We're going to go to Val. We're going to go to Lathe probably a couple of times, maybe even setting up a base over there, right? There's stuff I want to do over Jool. And I want fuel available. That's why I've got so much fuel going there. I want fuel available. Anything that's left over after we fill the station, anything in this that's left over, I'm going to bring it over to Tylo. Okay? And then this thing ends up orbiting Tylo as a fuel depot, basically. Right? So it's not going to be a waste. So I want to have a lot of fuel in that area so that I can reliably say, okay, as long as I can get to orbit, I'll probably be fine because I have a fuel depot, right? I want to have stuff in the area, if that makes sense. So. I'll end up launching this a few times to fill that main craft up with fuel and monopropellant. And I docked to my target a couple different ways here as well, testing out a plan that I have to solve a problem that I foresee as a possibility coming up, which I will be sharing with you later in this video. The footage is usually sped up as much as 10 times real time here in this video, but I'll slow it down for you every once in a while. These rockets are very large and they take a very long time to move around in space. So while this footage may look like I'm approaching and moving around quickly, that could not be any further from the truth. That's just because it's sped up footage. If I was to show you in real time everything that you see in this video, it would take you nearly 15 hours to watch it. No thanks. All right, that was really weird and a little bit difficult, but managed to do it. Got these two things docked together pretty well. We're gonna go ahead and hit F5 here just to be safe. I had a couple of instances. I'll show one of them in the time lapse, but I had a couple of instances where just getting near this thing had some sort of phantom force that just separated us at like 30 or 40 meters per second. It's like I'm approaching you really slowly at like 0.4, and then just all of a sudden we're separating, and it's kind of the same thing that happens with Kerbals sometimes, is what I'm feeling. Anyway, so what we're going to do first is we're going to go to the resource manager. This is the only reason this thing is here. And we're going to go to monopropellant first. And I brought some with me so we could have the big tanks here, get some filled up tanks. So these Stratus V Embiggened These are the ones, man. And all of the monopropellant that this thing has is going to go in the biggins. So we're just going to transfer them in like this. Okay. So they've got some monopropellant. It's leaving me with just a little bit in here. I don't really want that, but it looks like that's just the way it's going to happen. So it is what it is. And of course I can't get rid of these things. So I'll just have to deal with it. So we'll just ignore all the ones for monopropellant for now then. Let's go to methylox. And of course, everything that's in here, aside from maybe just a tiny bit of fuel so we can deorbit it, is going to be there. So we're going to basically highlight, I don't know, should I do it evenly? You can always distribute things later. It really doesn't matter if it's even, I guess. So why don't we just go down the line here with all the tanks. I mean, probably should pick the ones that actually have stuff in them, but we'll select the ones that are part of our approaching vessel first, the refueling rig first. These ones don't really have anything in them, so it doesn't matter. And then this one, and then this one, and then this one. All right, I think I got everything selected here. I'll just skip you guys through it. So we're going to hit start. Should transfer every single bit of fuel that's in this over to here, unless, of course, that thing fills up, which it didn't fill all the way. So chances are this craft that we have just brought here should be pretty much completely empty right now. Okay, it should be any fuel left in it. So if we head up over to those tanks, we should see they're all pretty much empty. Yep, all these tanks are empty. There's like a tiny bit of monopropellant still in here, but I don't know why it's keeping that little bit, but it is. So they're all empty. Then I'm gonna go to this top one here, whichever one that is. I'm gonna find it, do that later. So why don't we take one of these little nose tanks here, and we'll just go out there like that. And what that should have done, should have brought in some fuel here. There we go. There is now some fuel in this, and we just undock if it lets me without killing us. Undock. Okay. We are loose. Everything's free. And this craft has now 6657. Huh? Still not full yet, though. Probably should send one more of these suckers up here just to see. And I don't know what my thrust to weight ratio is. It's abysmal. It's what it is. It's abysmal. 0.16. Oh my god, dude. 0.16 is horrible. It's not that we can't, right? I'm not worried about like falling or anything, but the longer, it's like a really long burns, right? Like, oh, we're just gonna casually burn for, 25 minutes, where another craft with a better thrust to weight ratio might have like 30 seconds, right? Like it's one of those deals. So I mean, we're efficient, and I'm using a fuel source that the other station and stuff can use, but that's horrible. All right, we have 100 meters per second. That's it. All right, do you think we can get out with this? Huh? Oh, easily. Oh yeah, piece of cake. It's going about 1,000. It's going about a kilometer per. Oh yeah, that's a piece of cake. That's an easy deorbit right there. Very good. And this thing will now disappear. It's going to disappear into the atmosphere, never to be seen again. All right. So we have. No, wait. What is this? What is going on here? What is this docking port madness? Why are you? I really got to figure out like why that happens, because it's actually really annoying. Because I think it actually throws off how I have to line up, and this isn't so bad, but I've seen docking ports sink themselves completely into tanks to where I can no longer target them. I really hope that they can get to the bottom of that problem too, because that is actually causing a problem. second time through here, I'm using the large docking port because it's significantly easier to maneuver to that with the way things are designed with this craft. Obviously, I'll also be using this large port when I meet up with the station at Jool too. I can't wait to see what my frame rates are there. I can tell you, having a good amount of experience with larger crafts in this game right now, the frame rates really aren't all that much of an improvement over KSP1 if you have a great CPU. Really hoping to see more optimization work done in this game if they have any hope of allowing those gigantic vessels and stations that they were advertising as part of this game when Colony stuff is released. I have a really powerful computer, and I'm not necessarily thinking it's a bad experience having 15 to 20 frames per second with these large crafts, but, well, I just feel like it should be better, you know? This is Kerbal Space Program 2, and I feel like when you advertise these gigantic things in your marketing, it's this kind of stuff that people are going to do, and they don't want to watch slideshows, and I'm sure people with CPUs much weaker than mine are going to have fewer frames than this too. So I really hope that they work on that. It is still early access. I'm going to keep my judgments reserved. I'm patient. All right, so I have got this thing filled up, both monopropellant and fuel. Everything's ready to rock, and it's got just under 7,800 meters per second of delta V. So we can leave for Jool. But, problem, as foreseen, our thrust-to-weight ratio, I can speak. Thrust-to-weight ratio is abysmal when this thing is full. And so, like, if I was to set a maneuver for here, for example, and I go prograde, it'll do it for a while, but it calculates my burn is so long that, well, eventually, my prograde burn begins to work against itself. And I'll find myself crashing. Until my burn looks a little bit like this. Like, I can leave, but look at the delta V requirements. It gets really bad. So we need to... You can do one of two things, all right? You can burn over and over and over again to get yourself out that way. It takes extra time, but I've been doing it with the ion engines in the probe at Eve as well. And so if you do it over and over again, you can really make that happen. So like, for example, I will show you over on the Moho relay probe. Exactly. I'll show you over on that probe and what we got going on. If I can get it to load, there it goes. Hi. Okay, so this probe has an orbit that looks like this around Eve now. Okay, and it's, yeah, we were trying to get it out to Moho. It takes some time. I've been kind of doing it in the off hours, a little bit of time here, but you basically get to the point where you are facing prograde, all right? And you're going to go all the way around to get to your maneuver here. All right, there you go. And then you can get, kind of close to where the periapsis is in this case, and you just keep going and going and going, okay? But here's the thing. If it takes you too long to do this with, like, this probe, right? Eventually, you end up burning the wrong way, okay? So, for example, in order to go to Moho, you got to burn on the light side of Eve. But if you take too long, Eve moves, right? I mean, this is the nature of orbits, right? If you take too long, you're not going to be really burning straight on the light side anymore. So it becomes a situation for this one anyway, where I need to get just to the tip of the sphere of influence, and then I have to wait until Eve aligns properly so that that burn will go the right direction and leave Eve's sphere of influence, right? So I can keep going with this alignment. I just keep turning it on. And it'll keep doing its thing, and that's great. But I have to also make sure I'm burning on the light side, just because I need that electric charge in order to keep going. Otherwise, it'll drain my battery. Observe. If I do this, the electric charge does get hit quite fast. And some of these burns I've been making for this thing are like 8 or 9 minutes long. I think you can see, based on how fast it's draining, that there's zero chance I can make an 8 or 9 minute burn with this engine if I don't have my solar panels extended, because this thing is down to, I don't know, about 80% full now, and it's been less than a minute. So clearly we need the sun in range of these things in order to properly burn this, because the solar generation on these two is adequate enough to grow solar, especially when we're in orbit of Eve or closer to the sun. It's good enough, right, to make that happen. But you have to kind of do it over and over again. So you raise that you raise that apoapsis a little bit at a time, and until you get to the point where you're no longer in a good spot to burn anymore, and then you stop and you just wait it out. And that's what I've been doing. But you can see that if you do it long enough, you start not going the right way. And I haven't been like keeping on this, right? I've been off doing my other thing, so time has passed. And that's kind of the same way it's been with the refueling stuff as well, because you can notice where Kerbin is now relative to where Jool is. That's not a good time. It's not a good alignment. All right. But what we can do is we can kind of get a feel. And this one's a little more challenging to do because it's really easy on Eve because you're just relative to the sun. That's a fixed point. You are orbiting around that. But for this one, we're trying to get a point relative to like Jool and lining up properly with Jool. So how do we do that? We're going to need to get relatively the same position, and that's not necessarily going to happen. This thing takes a long time to get around, and our alignment will line up with this thing many, many times before we get to this exact place. So that's my problem right now, is I can't really do with the refueling rig what I'm doing as easily anyway with this probe, because this probe is trying to line up for the sun, and that's a fixed point, and it's pretty easy to predict where you're going to be. But for Jool, it's a little more challenging, right? Like I'm saying. So what we're going to do here, I have this, this video is going to take forever to release, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry to myself too. This is one of the downsides of playing Kerbal Space Program, and I'm just going to say, like, these are the types of things that in the past have really caused me to kind of want to take a step back and say, is it worth playing this game right now for content, right? Really fun game to play, really challenging to make content for because everything takes so long in the real world, like time-wise, to produce. So if you like this content, please show that some love. Maybe consider becoming a patron or whatever, right? Like, it's ad revenue is not enough to pay for it, if that makes sense. I know that sounds like really like pretentious or something, but you know, when you're trying to run a channel, it's something to take in mind. It's something you definitely have to consider sometimes. So what I want to do here is I think I'm going to need this burn to happen faster. I don't want to have to go around and round and round and lose my alignment. So to add on to this ridiculous mission, I think what I could do is strap some more engines to this thing. And this is something that I thought was eventually going to be like potentially an issue. And so to prepare for that, I did add these docking ports on the sides. These were not meant to dock to refuel. I did it I did it for one of my refueling rigs because I thought, yeah, I wonder if I could do that. And, you know, just it's a little more challenging to line up with a small port, right? For the second one and the third one, I did send 3 missions. I'm not sure if I'm going to show them all on video, but for the second and third one, though, I used this because it's a little easier to line up to, and it's way easier on the approach that way. Plus, all my docking, all my RCS and stuff is kind of lined up for this one to dock. And yeah, so there's that. Anyway, the reason why I put these docking ports on there was because I knew there was a chance that I might need more thrust. And so what I'm thinking of doing is taking up like basically one of these units right here, minus the, you know, obviously minus the monopropellant, and just strapping 4 Mammoth 2s to this thing. That's what I'm thinking of doing. 4 Mammoth 2s strapped to this thing. And what we can hopefully get out of that, I'm hoping anyway, we can get an extra 1,000 meters per second for that. Then I can line up with the moon and do the same thing I did there, where I was trying to head out to Jool, and I'll make those 4 tanks hit the moon on the way out, that kind of thing. I think it's something that I might be able to handle. The only downside of that is, well, actually, I probably won't be able to do that because releasing 4 of those tanks to hit the moon, it still means that I have a lot of burn left to do. And having a lot of burn left to do is a problem. So I might not be able to do that. What I probably will have to do is take them all the way into Kerbal orbit and then line myself up for a collision course with Jool like I did earlier, and then release them so that they're on a collision course with Jool. And then I'll be left with just this to, get myself in orbit around there. So this is actually the hardest part of the mission, and it was something that I didn't know for sure that I'd have to do, but after seeing how little progress this craft can make with these engines I've given it, I knew I just had to have more. So I decided to go with these engines because of their efficiency, and I figured I'd like to save as much of the fuel as possible for the station. I just didn't anticipate that I'd be needing to burn nearly 20 minutes to get out of Kerbin with them, meaning multiple passes around the planet. I'd rather try something adventurous and assemble better engines to it instead, just to see if it can work. I know that I'm inevitably going to get asked about nuclear and why I didn't use it. And the simple answer for that is that it requires completely separate tanks, a completely different fuel source, and heavy engines that, while they are very efficient, they are also very weak. I would have to have a significant amount of hardware on this craft that is dedicated to just moving it out to the station, and giant tanks full of propellant that I won't be able to use for the overwhelming majority of the crafts that I'm sending to the station. So I opted to have the fuel that I'm using be also usable for other crafts later, and this design here with Methalox will allow me to, I'm going to be burning the fuel I'll use later, but it means that everything left over on this vessel, everything is usable again for some other vessel, rather than having hydrogen sitting there not really doing a whole lot, if that makes sense. So I not only need to dock this time with a small port, as I've already tested out before, but now I need to align the tanks and engines as close to perfect as possible so that they burn straight and true. That part is near impossible, but as long as I can get it close enough so that the gimbaling, RCS, and reaction wheels can all counteract the torque, it can work. Remember, these engines I'm strapping on this craft, each one of the engines are more powerful than all of the other engines that are already on it. So if they are misaligned, they are going to wreak havoc on this craft. They're going to put out a lot of torque, and the engines that are on there already are not going to be able to counteract it. They're just simply too powerful. So I need to align these Mammoth 2s as close as possible. All right, so this was a really complicated mission that didn't need to be this complicated, but I thought, hey, this might be fun. It turned into like 20 hours of gameplay that I didn't anticipate. But hey, I almost got it exactly the way I want. This one here, it's a little bit crooked. I was also considering adding 2 more, one on this side and one on this side, just to make it even easier, and also to add a little extra fuel and all those things. But I don't need it, right? Because if I go over to the dark side here and I create a maneuver, I can leave in a 3.5 minute burn. I can get out now, right? That's going to be way better than like 6 trips around Kerbin to get out. So my issue right now is that I've got these 2 tanks and these 2 engines, and like this is very close, but it's still going to implement some torque. This one here, though, is going to have a whole bunch of torque on us, especially considering that it's stronger than almost all the other engines, right? So these 2 are going to have a lot more force than the ones in the middle, especially when it comes to our rotation and everything. So these things need to be closer. And what I'm thinking of doing, and I was kind of hoping to leave the other one nearby and dock it to here, but it became clear to me, I probably said this in the voiceover, it became pretty clear to me that having only those 2 cross from each other, I've kind of lost control for RCS. Like there's certain directions I can no longer go, right? And so like if I have think of it this way. If you have thrusters on your left and right, okay, like hold out your arms if you want to, you have the ability to go forward, backwards, and you have the ability to go up and down, but you don't have the ability to go left and right. There's no thrusters to push you left and right? I can put my arms up, I can put my arms down, I can go forward, I can go backwards. Those are the 4 directions I can go, but I cannot go left and right anymore. That belonged to the thrusters that I had on the other axis, right? So I've lost that ability. And yeah, I could rotate the craft and then try it backwards and forwards, but that's really cumbersome. And also, everything you just saw takes a long time to do because everything is deceptive, but everything here is very huge and very heavy. Okay, and so these tiny little thrusters, they don't do much. All right, they don't do much. So yeah, so what I'm gonna have to do to straighten this one out, because there's no way to grab it, right? The only point in which I can get access to it is this port right here. So what I'm thinking I have to do, and if it doesn't work, I'll just send up another one, I guess, but I'm gonna have to undock this. Probably what I'll do is undock it and then immediately pause and then time accelerate immediately, so that this thing doesn't get rotation. Okay, because if this thing starts rotating, it's over. So I can't have rotation here. And then what I can do, maybe, no idea, is I can then maneuver this thing, as big as it is, to get an encounter with that. I don't know if that's possible to do, but I'm going to do, I got to take a break. So tell you what, this has been a video. It's not done. I didn't want to do a part 1, a part 2, a part 3. I'm trying to do all these in the same thing, but I mean, I've been working on this video for 2 days now, and 2 days is not like I do 48 hours sitting here, right? Obviously, but I have very limited time every day. So when I dedicate time to a video, like it needs to get done, right? So I'm gonna have to do it because this one's taking longer than it should have, and it's my fault. I'm choosing to do it this way. But I still think it's fun. I'm having a great time. I hope you guys are too. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to have to get... I don't know why it's showing me like low fuel counts in this. It's very weird. Because if I go to my resource manager, you might have saw that already. I go to my resource manager and take a look at the 35 Methalox tanks that we have. I mean, I guess there's like a 129 out of 13 there or something, but I'm not seeing any tanks that are that level of full. You know what I mean? Like they're all full. I filled them up as much as I could here. So like everything is full, awaiting transfer to Jool right now. And I don't know, man. Like it shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have this issue where they're not full all the way, but I guess that's just the way it is. The last thing is like on our transfer, Like maybe we'll involve the moon. I really don't know how long these things can go. But I would like to involve the moon on the way out, if possible, to get rid of these side tanks. We won't need them the entire journey. They're just here to give me a much shorter burn for Kerbin. So I'm gonna try to incorporate the moon again, like I did before, if I can get this to burn and have you be, you know, have you be you, have you be straight. Okay, if I can do that, then great. And then once we get a collision course with the moon, of course, we just undock this, and continue burning. And then we just leave these tanks behind, and you know they crash into the moon. That's the idea, right? And then this freaking docking port, man. I don't know what the hell's going on with that. All right, I'm gonna take off. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you for part 2 or maybe part 3 at this point. I don't know, but we'll see ya. Bye-bye.
What we do here is go back.
Oh.